6:31.
Because you know those are going to match my socks.
It's going to match your socks, yeah.
So I will call the work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia for Monday, April 12th, 2021 to order. The time is 6:32. We have everybody present. We'll go through first the regular business meeting. We've got a proclamation tonight for the Arab American Heritage Month, and then doing a youth business license presentation. Eric, are you going to take charge of that when we do that?
Sure. I confirmed with them middle last week, they were coming again, so I expect them to be here.
Okay. Is it Trace? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Trace, okay.
I'm assuming you'll do the handing, but I'll be glad to.
You would talk a bit about it. And then we've got the minutes. We've got the second reading, which was this RZ 2101, which had been postponed from the March 22nd meeting. So we've already done public comments, so we won't do that. Any comments or questions or comments by council on that one? This is the
Mayor, I
Brit.
think the applicant's going to request some more time. That's what I talked to the applicant this morning, and they'd like some more time to figure it out after talking to her.
Okay,
She's here.
Yeah, she's here.
okay. Is that what the plan is, that you're going to?
Yes, we'd like to table it to the next meeting.
Okay.
We'll be happy to do that if you don't want to say it.
Oh, so I don't need to stay for city council meeting?
I don't think so.
Okay, perfect.
Although we want to table it to the one after because we've got a lot coming up on.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
or next
30
week.
days, no, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
So April, that
So
would
that'd
be
be
May
May 10th.
10th.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, then we have a first reading for RZ 2102 for Patrick Malloy Companies for the Summit Chase development. First reading for Roger Fisher and Oak Road, and then we've got an annexation and rezoning for Tomco. Any questions on any of
Yeah,
these?
I was going
Uh-huh.
to say, could I ask that?
Sure.
Jason, the Oak Road one, I noticed there was just one elevation submitted with that.
Let me see, I think we got mostly front elevation. Let me see if we got it.
I was just wondering, because
You mean as far as just,
well, I had to go back and look at the planning commission agenda to,
you mean as far as the number of elevations, like there was only one elevation?
it was only like one that included front, rear, and the two sides, but it was just, and so I just wondered, my question was, is there going to be any variation in the appearance of the,
Yeah, he spoke about that a little bit, about he would change up garages and stuff like that, so not so different, the same all the way down. But I'll see if he has some samples or how, maybe just prepared or asked about how he intends to do that, how to be prepared for the hearing date. If not, so.
Okay. Then we have a lot of items on our consent agenda. These are all some of these little cleanup items.
We have two cleanups from Brian Edwards on the quitclaim deed and the right-of-way deed. All those will do is just make the closing smoother when we get to the closing with Midcast. And then the other two were the two agreements between the city and the DDA, Mayor and Council and DDA, which basically makes us the paying agent for all of the improvements down in the town center, and it also directs lease proceeds back to the city to offset debt. So we talked about those last time.
Okay. Everybody okay with all of that on the consent agenda? Then we have no old business. Under new business, we have confirmation for Dr. Michael Kissel to the Planning Commission, the bid for the property and casualty insurance to travelers.
I don't know if you read the agenda item summary there, but We had not bid that out in quite some time, and the private sector will lead to a savings of somewhere around $30,000. In my past life, I've had private insurance before. Travelers is the gold standard there. They do a great job. If it hadn't been them, I probably would not have recommended them so strongly. But you have Travelers as the insurance agency. You have local people like PK Martin, who you just pick up the phone and call if there are any issues. And my recommendation is that we move from GERMA. It's not easy to do that. GERMA has stuck by us through thick and thin, and there's been a heck of a lot that they have stuck by us through. So, but the main law firm that they use, Freeman Mathis and Gary, excellent, just like Ellerby Thompson is. I won't mention who handles some of the secondary cases for them, but you might remember Mr. Gray. But in any case, that's my recommendation, to go with the savings, and I think we'll be just fine.
Okay.
We won't be able to use that joke anymore.
And then we've got surplusing some old snowflake decorations.
I know you'll miss the snow.
127 snowflakes.
So we're
And
getting
Gay
it.
would be here, but her husband had a catheterization this afternoon, so everything went well.
Good.
But we have to be sure that the snowflakes go to another safe place.
We were making all the snowflake in the basement
I got
jokes. Sorry, Dave had to bring them down here too. Okay, so now
To the
we will,
Emmanuel's basement.
we will go to the work session agenda. Any correspondence, Mr. Sanders?
Oh, man.
I emailed out to everyone some correspondence I received on our police
Yeah.
safety vest issue.
I saw that.
I think we beat that horse pretty much to death this afternoon, so we'll just go on with that.
But you did have a good idea.
Huh?
You did have a good idea.
I think it would be awesome. City Attorney's report.
Madam Mayor, we're going to need an executive session, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Butch, update of ongoing projects.
The first item, Town Center construction progress. You can see all the work that's going on down there. It's like that site work company is doing a great job. They're keeping the site taken care of. We had a question, I think, from the business condos. No issues there. The rain caused no problems whatsoever. So they're doing a great job. The items on the consent agenda tonight, I appreciate your support of those. The Phase 1 property closing is targeted for April 30th. I'm not sure we'll get there or not, but that's the target date. And let's look at the colorful document you have in front of you to go over some of the items that have changed in the last 2 weeks. Once again, tomorrow morning, we have a winter construction parking deck update. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, there's also a pre-construction call on the parking deck. And then we have our regular call on Wednesday at 9 o'clock with Larry Kaiser.
2:30.
2:30. So anybody who's interested in any of those, just let us know and we'll get you the information. The good news on all of the documents, we have a letter from U.S. Bank that basically accepted everything in those documents except 1 or 2 non-substantive changes that Blake Sharpton is working on with David Ansari. And we also received probably the only type of commitment letter we're going to get from U.S. Bank. Basically, they said that they've done their due diligence, they've done all their research, and they have a $50,550,000 loan lined up to close in April with Midcast. It's not a commitment. Basically, that's all we're going to get out of them. I mean, just that they've done their work, they're lining everything up, and Barbara, you've had a chance to look at it, and I just don't think we're going to get another one. They just aren't going to tell us that it's a done deal until it's a done deal. But it's a pretty strong letter. Also in that regard, Barbara has requested some financials from Casto, and they are the finance, really the bottom line finance entity there. So we'll review those, and at that time, hopefully we can get together and release the bond process. But good news on those documents. The civil engineering phase, as I said, great work. We're probably 10 days ahead of schedule. The Grove plans, once again, we've had the one discussion on VE. That pricing should be back very, very soon. I did have a good discussion on FF&E with Midcast, and basically they're in agreement that all the FF&E is coming out of that pricing, and it's going to be 50-50. Bike racks, garbage receptacles, benches, throughout the whole project will be 50-50. They will come out of that, out of our Grove work. County Library, nothing changed there. The bid date is Wednesday, the 14th of April. Parking deck, CM at risk. Pad ready date has moved up to May the 10th. And that does bring something up as far as closing on the property.
We need to be done before April.
Yeah, we have Chuck reminded me, the April 30th date is the closing where we sell our property to them. And by May the 10th, if that day stands, we will have to buy the pad, the parking deck pad, and the parking deck property back from them, because we cannot do we can't do improvements on property we don't own. So there will have to be two closings on the buyback of property. We would buy back the parking deck pad, and several weeks later, when the library pad and the market pad are ready, we'll have another closing. And we already know that the amount of money that we're paying for all three of those has already been set. And the budget for that is right now about 1.3 million, a little under 1.3 million. Remember, we have a max of 1,935, so well under that. And so Kirk and I talked, and we came up with a $250,000 figure. If we have to close early, that's much less than a pro rata cost of the property. So if we do have to close early, that's something that Blake, Chuck, and Brian will have to be involved in as far as setting that up. So, because we don't want to delay. If we can, and it's their job to put the survey, they're the seller, they're paying for all of the survey costs and whatnot. Brian will have a chance to check that, and I want everybody to feel comfortable that instead of that one closing for three pieces, we'll probably have to have two. So please know that. And we'll talk more about that as we move along. But right now, it's great that pad ready date is moving forward. And on the calls with Winter, they have already worked with Metromont, the concrete supplier, and they're able to meet that earlier date right now. If it moves up any more, it's probably debatable. Multifamily residential, let's see, Jason, we have all the plans, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and do we know of any, the fire marshal in the county?
Yeah, I think we were pre-reviewing them, but I think they're almost done with the county.
Okay. But they're on schedule, and once again, that pad will probably actually be ready before the parking deck. Isn't that the plan, Eric? Storm.
Get that pad started as soon as possible.
Stormwater master detention, the north side project is complete. It looks really good. There'll be, you probably noticed a lot of concrete pipe over there. The stormwater for phase one will include that material and will be done along with as the site work moves on.
Butch, as we go along, will those detention ponds over there, will they actually hold water all the time or only if there's a lot of rain?
Will they do?
Hold water? Are they going to be like
They-
little ponds?
they
that-
will.
That
They
will
will.
keep water in them?
Yes, yes. From the whole site.
Okay.
Phase 1 and Phase 2. So it is, and Dickerson did a great job. They really did. Market design and development. I'm going to just start off speaking for my committee members. We had interviews with 3 architects today, and I believe that there is a consensus that has been developed as far as a recommendation from the Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Schultz and Warner, and I'll just let you guys take it from here.
We had 3 reasonably good presentations, a lot of fancy pictures and everything else. The group that we settled on got it. They had done a lot of work in other cities, a lot of historical feeling type buildings. We just put up this building yesterday. It looks like it's been there for 100 years and seemed very open. They were more concerned about what we wanted than what they thought we should have. So I think we all came to that same conclusion, that they were the best suited for what we needed and really understood. They've done just some really nice work. Did a lot in Woodstock and a lot in Alpharetta. So I have a lot of samples. It's not just, hey, we know what it's to do. It's, here's what we've done. And very conversational, we're here to answer your questions and to build what you want. So I think that's...
I'll say, I of course, looked at all 3 proposals, and this was the building that just absolutely stood out to me, and it's done by the architect we chose. It's called the Johnston Building in Woodstock, and I was just, the first time I saw it, I just thought that has the feel for what we're looking
There's
for.
a lot of detail that they put in that really
Right.
set it apart.
Just like the keystone.
Yeah, the keystones
over
above.
Over the windows themselves, and I was a little concerned because they were by far the very lowest bidder, but everybody in the room agreed that was the firm that we thought would do the best job for us.
They were also the firm that actually gave us what we wanted. The other 2 firms...
In the presentation.
In the presentation. The other 2 firms went into, the flow of the whole town center and, trying to relay out the restaurant, things that were not part of what we were looking at. And just so happens they also happen to be the lowest cost by a lot. So I think part of that is the fact that they understood that we just want them to design the exterior of the building and the structure thereof rather than getting into everything else. So I think we're in good hands.
Because a lot of the other proposals were overlaps of what we're already doing.
Right.
So there's no sense paying twice for the same thing.
Yeah, they were talking about things like connections to Oak Road Park and,
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
that were way beyond the scope.
A 5-minute walkable circle, blah, but the big thing is our development partners also felt extremely comfortable with these folks. I've worked with them before, and I found it kind of amusing that one of the groups that was talking to us was actually showing that they worked on the projects that our selection actually did, the design work. So, if you all are in agreement with us, I would say,
Yep. Yeah, and we need to, if everybody's in agreement, we need to let Butch roll so we don't have any delays that we don't need.
We need to
Yeah, we'll
vote
get
on
with
that.
them, and they will develop a contract to bring back here to review and be approved by the mayor and council.
well, but the question I have is, as far as the mechanics go, do we need to actually vote and make a selection, so that work can begin.
Chuck, I think they do
Yeah.
need to do that.
It would be cleaner to go ahead and
And
do
can we
that.
do that tonight?
Can we amend the agenda?
Yeah, we can amend the agenda.
And then, of course, make sure that we contact our development partners before our meeting so they can.
Let them know immediately,
Yeah, let the other two know.
if y'all are comfortable there.
You good, Mayor?
Yeah, so we're gonna amend that to add it on tonight.
You
Good
guys
deal.
have the bid amount for
Where
the
do you,
motion?
where do you want to put it?
Well, I think you wait until the contract
Yeah,
Yeah,
comes in.
Oh.
just as selecting them,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, it's in their proposal, but.
But I think once they get down to the contract, if things are added or deleted.
And since they came in substantially under our budgeted amount, I don't want to go in there and say, not to exceed, because who knows,
Well,
it may
yeah,
creep
true.
up, so let's just.
Because we're still at the proposal portion, we're not at
Yeah.
we're not at the contract approval.
Groovy.
But if there are cost overruns, we're still.
We're still,
Well, I think we'll probably mention a couple of things in there. One would be the hardscape work, and two would be the renderings, the public art that we need to show people. So probably two additions to that. Let's see, just moving through here quickly, the city bond issuance is ready when we get to go ahead. All the documents have been reviewed and edited. Had a good walkthrough last Friday. The weather cooperated. Larry Kaiser was able to point out a lot of things that will be forthcoming in the infrastructure changes and improvements. The sign ordinance, we still need to have a sit-down, Jason, with Midcast on the sign ordinance. And on the last page, all the property easements are in place with the consent agenda tonight. Sanitary sewer, we had a really good town hall call, I'd say. There were probably 30 people on it. Citizenry had a chance to ask a lot of questions. And we have a pre-con scheduled for next Monday with Dickerson and the county. So, and they're still saying that completion would be December of 2021, which is well ahead of schedule that we'd looked at before. So things look good there, and Dickerson is an excellent contractor. So that takes care of the town center. I wanted to make a couple of notes, human resource-wise. I have to say PD recruiting is going better than we really expected. I think we're ahead of the game there. We still aren't up to full staff, but we've probably been more fortunate than other agencies, I guess, put it that way. We'll have our budget discussions over the next 2 weeks. We have a new financial software module, which Encode should release us probably tomorrow, Melissa, where we can update everything. That'll be very nice to have. Annexation, we're still putting some things together as far as identifying the best areas for mayor and council input. Had a good discussion last week with Gwinnett Water. I probably meet with them every 6 months, and we talk about what they're doing and what we're doing, what we're looking forward to doing, and what their plans are to make sure that we have infrastructure and development is going towards infrastructure. One thing I mentioned to Barbara and Dave earlier, with the Biden stimulus that is passed, local governments are going to get a big check. Our check's going to be about $6,250,000. And there's still a lot to be fleshed out as far as what is eligible there. But if you want to talk about economic development and infrastructure, that's some money that could really help us and open up some property. So there'll be more discussion.
Infrastructure is defined so broadly now that we can pretty much include a lot of stuff in infrastructure now.
Well, there are. It is, like I said, all of the rules are not in place, but we're talking about sidewalks. That gets people outside. that connects different facilities. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a lot of these things. But we'll talk about that as the guidelines come down. And that's why I mentioned the sidewalk master plan. I know you guys have met and talked about it. Is there anything you want to say this evening?
I didn't get the map put together yet. When we looked at the map that was existing from 2008, surprisingly, a lot of what was proposed has been done. And then notice that there are a lot of things on there that say that there's a sidewalk there and there
But
isn't.
they're not. There's some
So
discrepancies.
we're now going to have to drive around
Yeah.
and double check some things. But a couple meetings ago, Butch brought up that the homeowners off of Mountain View in
Oak Meadow.
Oak Meadow.
were asking about a sidewalk, and the discussion was that it would be extremely expensive to put it, half the street borders on county property, the other half is city property. The city property does not lend itself to a sidewalk, the county side does. So we've tossed around the idea of partnering with Gwinnett County, possibly giving them some SPOS funds if they're willing to put the sidewalk down their side of the road. That way, we can get the sidewalk there faster and for a lot less money, and it's already been on our master plan for 12, 13 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's time.
So, a lot of good ideas, a lot of good work. And I'll get the map out, updated map out to everybody once I have time to sit down
We'll
with.
schedule a field trip
Yeah.
Good,
as well.
good work.
We can walk some sidewalks.
Yes.
Because we didn't do that enough last Friday.
Oh, no, not at all.
We're still working with GDOT on landscaping at 78-124. We may have a better source who might give us a little more leeway. UDO and Alcoholic Beverage Code, Senate Bill 145 is on the governor's desk. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
What?
Senate Bill 145 is on the governor's desk.
That-
I thought it was dead.
Yeah, I thought it was dead too.
But it was changed to the point that you
Oh.
still have.
Still have to advertise it.
Well, it was reduced to 20%, wasn't it?
Yeah,
20%,
20%.
Reduced to
which is
20.
still-
Or an
Okay.
ordinance.
Yeah,
Well, are you sure?
That's
Yeah.
what's in the latest version I saw.
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
All right.
you can still do it, kind of like home rule was, I
So
guess.
it's an or?
So-
You can't do it.
That's
or.
my,
Ooh,
That's his legal opinion.
wow.
that is the last time I read it, so.
Yeah, but that's
that-
what
that's
Tom
my
Gale
understanding.
said, so.
Check with Harvey, he can get you.
Wow.
How long does the governor have to sign that?
He can take
July
till
1,
July.
If he doesn't sign it, he doesn't veto it. Senior Center Operations, I understand we had 2 council members attend the advisory board. You're working with them on a reopening date?
Yeah, we asked them to develop a transition plan to at least start some opening of the center by May 1st, which I think was sooner than they were anticipating.
Yeah.
They seemed a little alarmed at
Yeah.
that, but we said, we're not saying full opening, we're saying, look at the kinds of activities that you used to do and what you can do by spreading people out and what is feasible, so.
You can do a lot with masks and distancing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Things, not card playing necessarily, but certainly crocheting, knitting, a lot.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do.
Spanish classes, we
Spanish,
talked about.
absolutely.
We talked about a lot of different things they might be able to.
I think Lisa's meeting with Kathy and Tracy. And in thinking of dates, May, June, I think at the least, we can certainly have some events in May, have some activities in May leading up to a full opening. I think we need to just look at the schedule and see what we can do. We need to have more conversations.
Their hesitation was that they we're trying to stay on a timeline with Gwinnett County Senior Centers, and they were a little hesitant to jump ahead of what the county's doing, but we kind of encouraged them
No reason for that.
to make Snellville a leader.
Yeah, I'd rather see us.
Lisa, have you had any update from has there been any update from them? I don't know what why there's not much communication there from them.
Yeah.
I'll keep trying, but I haven't heard anything.
The county's the county, the city's the city.
Right, and I think we should be the leader for the
Mhm.
county.
Well, we've always
Not
tried
the
to
reverse.
coordinate all of our COVID actions
For
with the
sure.
county, and so we'll work on that.
That's true.
So I just pulled up Senate Bill 145, and it says a referendum election relating to a petition for referendum and notice of call for referendum as follows. A referendum election to authorize the issuance of licenses for package sales may be initiated upon an ordinance or resolution from the governing authority of any municipality or county, or upon a written petition containing the signatures of at least 20% of the registered and qualified voters.
So there's an option there.
So it's an option.
That or is an important change.
We need to, when we go to Briscoe, you're going to see a lot of positive changes. We have fencing subcontractors. Lisa, are they over there this week? Do we have them scheduled?
We don't have a schedule yet.
We don't have a schedule for either the maintenance facility or the back corner?
Now, originally they said if it wasn't this week, it would be next week.
Okay, well, we just need to schedule a visit and take a look at everything that has been done, knowing that the fencing is on the list. Staff recognition, still waiting for a good time later in the year to hold another or several get-togethers, and invocation and pledge. Y'all have it under control.
So who's doing it tonight? Did we talk about that?
We didn't talk about that. Anyone?
Not mine.
Sure.
There you
So,
go.
thank you, sir.
You want to do the pledge?
You
Will
know,
lead us to the pledge today?
Sure you
Trace,
do.
Trace Lee will be here. I'm sure
Oh,
Trace-
We all.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
As
Yes,
well.
okay. You want to do it?
Trace was one of my students this last semester. So
He's gonna do it.
Well, I just asked her.
No, it's a student.
Yeah,
I think
you
it's
guys.
great.
You sure?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
So what are we doing on the pledge?
I can ask Trace.
Yes.
And we have a backup.
Yes, and she can come next meeting, we already said
Yeah,
that.
that's what she said.
See?
You're on the hook for next meeting.
Next meeting.
Dave will buy you dinner.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the group?
I think Dave had a comment about dumpsters.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all threw me off my game here. I had to go back to the regular meeting. All right. Dave, discussion of
I
options
don't
to
know what
improve
we can do.
dumpster.
Part of the problem we have with trash, I think, is there are existing businesses that do not have an enclosure for their dumpsters. So when they dump the dumpster, they just drop it and they're sideways, and I think it gives the impression that nobody knows, nobody cares what goes on here, so we'll throw our trash there. I don't know what we can do in terms of requiring it since it's existing, so we need to see what options we have that we can.
I mean, we certainly, while we can't add new enforcement if they're, grandfathered in, we certainly can enforce, the current litter rules and conditions of zoning that we have, and, use those to best of effect. And then, if they alter their facility or have to, modernize it, then of course, they'll have to fall in line with the new regulations as well.
But can we put anything in that says the dumpster has to be in a location that is not intrusive onto other property or something to,
After the fact?
Not after the fact, but I mean, when they do, there's metrics on where those accessory uses can go in the
Right.
ordinance, typically in the back. And a lot of our problems are generated just by the land use of buildings, like.
Yeah.
The commercial corridors were built right on the outside of the existing neighborhoods, and even have some of the neighborhoods that used to be, or frontage roads, used to be houses, are now businesses, so it just creates, even with a buffer, there's always gonna be that rub. As far as enclosures, like Chuck said, I think we've been requiring those since 2001 or 6. So it's only the older properties that don't have enclosures, but that's part of the problem until it's kind of like, where does that redevelopment cycle kick in? Because the businesses that are in there, in those older spots, aren't necessarily, your top tier retailers that are trying to do something better.
Okay, I have a question about a specific property, the JDM property, Home Depot, Kroger, behind the Five Below, the PetSmart, there are a number of dumpsters. There is an enclosure, the dumpsters are never in the enclosure.
I'll have to check.
And
What year was that, do you remember? Was it 01?
I'm not sure, but I can tell you yesterday, they weren't in the enclosure. But the enclosure is there for some of the dumpsters, and then as you drive behind the building, there, behind virtually every location, there's another dumpster. So my thought is, if there was an enclosure for some of them, there probably should be enclosures for the rest. But right there, the entrance next to Steak and Shake, there's
Yeah,
an
I know exactly
enclosure
where you're talking about.
in-
Because when you drive in that side driveway that comes in beside,
Across Walmart.
Yeah.
across from,
Yeah.
yeah.
and-
If you come in there, you look ahead, and sometimes there's dumpsters there that are almost blocking the road to get around, yeah.
and-
Is that not DDR?
Oh, I thought it was JDM, I'm
It's,
sorry.
it's,
No, that's DDR, right?
Yeah,
DDR.
yeah, our old buddies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was our old buddies.
Our
I just-
friends.
If you look from 78 back the other way, you'll be able to see them.
124?
See, there's an enclosure right over here, and, yeah, and there, it's,
I don't know how they're managing that too, if they're
Poorly.
splitting up spaces, and then how they're servicing their tenants, and I think, Five Guys, those used to be just massive single tenants, and they've had to build out the smaller ones, so I guess we can talk to them and look at the code and see what we can do.
well, and just the fact that they're right there by an entrance, and they're out in the open, I think leads to a lot more illegal dumping in their dumpsters, which,
Is part of the problem.
yeah, might be.
And it might be letting the trash companies know that we would encourage them to put the dumpsters back in a consistent location.
Well,
That's why I didn't know what our options were, that's why I wanted to discuss it.
Well, I mean, Gay and Public Works, they have direct line with the commercial haulers, so they'll do anything we ask. I think it's more of a volume issue over there because there's more businesses and there was original enclosures, and they're just, hasn't.
Chuck has some great pictures.
We'll get Steve Edwards over here.
There you go.
We can look at it. I'll check the code though.
Well,
Yeah,
the dollar,
I mean,
the dollar
it may
fee is
be
one.
outside our ability to do anything.
Todd, wasn't there a gentleman doing some illegal dumping?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring up the guy.
No, you didn't want to bring that up.
They're everywhere. We call it the tree guy.
Doing some personal dumping.
Oh, no, this was a guy relieving himself somewhere near the dumpsters in plain view, not only of my son and I, but also everybody at Steak and Shake.
This guy was just dumping.
Driving
Because there was nothing
new
like that.
BMW.
really dumping.
It's really
It's
difficult
a
dumping.
whole nother dumping issue.
Yeah, well, you bought an expensive car, you can't afford a bathroom.
I guess.
Okay, with that, we will go into exec session so we can knock this out before the meeting.
Yep, y'all get out of here.
During the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to advise the city with respect to closing the meeting. City Attorney Chuck Ross advised the city of the following reasons to close the meeting. Chuck, is it just litigation?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it's litigation.